You can't use vintage lenses with the LUMIX S9. That's something that whenever I was looking into buying this camera for myself, I kept hearing people say. But if you're anything like me, whenever someone tells me I can't do something, the first thing I want to do is go out and try and prove that person wrong. It's the end of January 2025, and like many people, I started the year with a couple of New Year's resolutions. One of those New Year's resolutions was to shoot a ton more with my vintage lenses. You might already know this, but there are loads of reasons why you would want to shoot with a vintage lens. It kind of takes the sharpness off your images, giving them like a more film-like feel. There are literally hundreds of thousands of vintage lenses out there, each with their own unique character, so it's really fun to stick them on a digital camera body like this and test them out and see what results you get. If you've seen any of my recent YouTube videos, you'll know that I'm now the proud owner of this LUMIX S9. The S9 camera is LUMIX's like small, compact, take it everywhere you go style camera. It shoots 6K video, it shoots really good still images as well. It has great in-body stabilization. You can load your LUTs into this camera. It's great. Like, I have loved every day with this camera so far. There are, however, a bunch of things that people online hate about this camera. So it doesn't have a hot shoe, it doesn't have a mechanical shutter, and it doesn't have a viewfinder. And I think it's that lack of viewfinder that makes people say that you can't shoot vintage or manual focus lenses with this camera. But what this camera and loads of other cameras from LUMIX does have is focus peaking. So that's how I've been shooting with this LUMIX S9. So in this video, I just wanted to share some of the photographs that I've taken over the last few weeks with my season LUTs loaded into the LUMIX S9 camera with a vintage lens attached. So here are some images. This is the 55mm f1.8 lens from Fujinon. It's an M42 mount lens, and honestly, I think it's the best like 50mm, roughly 50mm lens I have ever used. Unlike loads of other vintage lenses, this lens is sharp right the way through the aperture range, and when it's wide open, that's when this lens absolutely shines. The stuff in the background that's out of focus is just gorgeous. What do you call that, like bokeh or whatever? It's such a good lens, and you can pick one up for, I don't know, 50 quid on eBay or something. Get yourself one of these lenses, because honestly, they're incredible. The only downside that I can think of with this lens is that the focus ring turns the opposite way to what I'm used to, so that kind of annoys me, but performance-wise, this lens is just insane. Like, it's gorgeous. The next vintage lens that I've slapped on my LUMIX S9 over the last few weeks is this Carl Zeiss Jenna Flectagon 35mm f2.4 lens. Mine's the electric MC version, and honestly, this lens is just out of this world. It's not technically a macro lens, but you can focus so close with this lens. I haven't used this lens yet for portraits, but I am so excited to try it in the future. Just look at some of the images that I captured with the LUMIX S9, my season LUTs, and this Flectagon 35mm f2.4 lens. The next lens that I've been using loads over the last few weeks needs no introduction. It's the Helios 442 lens. It's a 58mm f2 lens that's known for its like swirly bokeh. The Helios 442 has this like preset aperture ring on the front, which takes a little bit of getting used to if you haven't used it before. But there is a 44M version of this lens, which I think is quite, like, it's much newer, but it has like a clicky aperture if that's more your thing. The build quality is amazing, but the performance is just outstanding. It's almost like two lenses in one. Here are some of the images I took over the last few weeks with the Helios 442. The fourth and final lens that I took out for a walk with my LUMIX S9 is this Zebra Pentacon 135 f2.8 lens. It's with this 135mm lens that focusing got a little bit trickier with the LUMIX S9. So whatever way my lens is, it focuses past infinity. So when you set it to focus to infinity, it's basically just out of focus. So you really have to concentrate and look at the screen on the back of your camera. One technique I used when shooting with this lens on the LUMIX S9 was to stop down to f2.8 to really reduce that like focal plane, and then I'd get it in focus at f2.8, then change the aperture back to f8 or f11 or whatever aperture I wanted to use and take the image, and that worked out really well. Another thing I found myself doing when shooting with this lens and my other lenses is zone focusing. That's quite hard to do when your subject is moving around a lot, but for the photographs I was taking over the last few weeks, I was able to zone focus, kind of guess like, yeah, that tree's like 4 meters away from me, and then I would set it at 4 meters and see then on the back of the screen if it was kind of, if it was looking right. So there you go, there's a bunch of photographs taken at the beginning of 2025 with my LUMIX S9 camera with one of my vintage lenses attached. If you like the color of the photographs featured in this video, then definitely check out my season LUTs, which are available for you to download for free now from the LUMIX Lab app or from my website, which you can find the link to below or here or you know. If you're watching this video and you have your own opinions on the LUMIX S9, then drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this camera. Maybe you're watching this and you also shoot with vintage lenses. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Any tips you have for me or any recommendations of which vintage lenses I should look into buying next. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Bye!